Right, what's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe out there in the world at this current time. And we're back today with another Resident Evil Village video explaining why Ethan is such a wise ass in Village. But before we get into that, just go through a few things as normal. If you have enjoyed what you've heard by the end of the video, don't forget to do what it says at the bottom of the page. Leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new. Help support the channel. Also, you can follow me on the social media networking sites as you see on the page here. And with all that out the way, let's get into today's video. Ethan Winters has quite a way with words. Say what you will about the protagonist of Resident Evil Village, but he has this perverse talent for finding the perfect rejoinders to truly precarious encounters. One favourite is a simple eat shit, a punctuation point on a particularly grueling encounter with a hammer-wielding Lycan, spoken aloud to an emptying room as they crumble to dust before his eyes. The following is a quote from Games Radar. Okay, so Ethan isn't exactly the Sylvia Plath of the Resident Evil world, but he did scoop the two words right out of my mouth. I was barking them at the television just seconds before as I burned through ammunition. Truth be told, I wouldn't want Ethan to be a poet. There's no room for considered thought in the carnival of carnage that is Resident Evil Village. Winters is economical in his confession, narration, and consistent in his subdued enthusiasm towards survival. It doesn't matter what he's doing, how poorly he's doing it, or what new and inventive way Capcom finds to torture his limbs. He never lets an opportunity for a quick quip pass him by. He also went on to say, Anthony Johnston tells me that Ethan's impulse to laugh in the face of unknowable terror is derived from a very human place. You know who laughs hardest at the darkest, sickest, bad taste jokes? EMT workers, cops, doctors, soldiers, people who see the worst side of the world every day. It's a natural coping mechanism, much like being pissed off that the world won't let you have a quiet life. So coming back to the very early stages of Resident Evil Village, as Ethan is surveying the wreckage of his quiet life in the hills, recovering from an attack from a rampaging werewolf, he utters a telling remake, "Why the fuck is this happening again? Shit!" Having already survived the horrors of the bayou in Resident Evil 7, Ethan begins Resident Evil Village thinking that the worst is already behind him, taking into consideration the events concerning the Baker family, Eveline, and the memory of his wife Mia running him down with a chainsaw. He has a kid now too, Rose, and that mess with Chris Redfield and the BSAA is over. Until it isn't. What the hell, Ethan whimpers as the former STARS member unloads his weapon, setting the events of Village into motion. Another quote from Games Radar states, Capcom tries to walk the tightrope in Village as it attempts to both inject Ethan with more personality after a somewhat muted performance in Biohazard, and to give us as players a voice in the experience. How would we, civilians, react to being thrust into a world that's largely been seen from the perspective of highly trained, battle-hardened specialists, adept in dealing with bioterrorism and threats to national security? You know what? I'd probably be pretty blasé about the entire situation too. What else is there to do but embrace the nightmare and make a few jokes along the way? I said something similar to Johnston, who served as scriptwriter of the original Dead Space and author of The Coldest City, the graphic novel which was later adapted into the 2017 Charlize Theron vehicle, Atomic Blonde. I joked that of all the protagonists to headline Resident Evil games over the past 25 years, Ethan often feels like he's the first to truly loathe the experience. His response? Well, wouldn't you? This is what I wanted to get across. There's some of that attitude in Resident Evil 7, but I was encouraged to go further in Village and really ground Ethan as a guy who just wants a quiet, ordinary life. He is actively pissed off that he can't have it. He's not Chris Redfield. He doesn't want to be a hero or wade through a village of Lycans, or in fact be anywhere near that place, if he had a choice, but he doesn't. Of course, some players have called into question Ethan's capacity to understand the precarious situations he constantly finds himself in, and his seeming inability to learn from any of them. There's only so many times you can have your limbs sliced off before you start taking additional precautions, right? Well, maybe not. Johnston tells me that Ethan is driven primarily by the fact that he is really pissed off, as mentioned before, which could perhaps have a blinding effect. The scriptwriter adds that in Resident Evil 7, Ethan was bewildered and frightened. In Village, he's bewildered, frightened, and angry because he knows this shouldn't be his problem. Ethan doesn't want to understand the world beyond. He's not interested in BSAA, the T-virus, or some dude called Wesker. He doesn't care. Of course, he should care. That he should. From his earliest push into the village, what kind of sick medieval shit is this? To his first encounter with the four characters of Resident Evil Village arguing over his death sentence. Hey, don't I get a say in this? And his failure to save a friend after an ill-advised escape plan. God damn it, why is everyone dying on me? To his fights with mutating creatures also, which we know happens in every Resident Evil. Looks like your outside matches your inside now, Psycho Witch, a favourite of mine. Ethan responds to each of these absurdist situations with the same tenor and brashness that I'd like to think I could summon too. In truth, I wouldn't have survived for more than a few minutes were Village real, but spending a few hours crying in fear on the Duke's shoulder is not the sort of power fantasy that fuels a multi-million-dollar selling series now, is it? Ultimately, for Johnston and the narrative team at Capcom, the challenge the studio had to grapple with was the fact that Ethan doesn't have a face, but he does have a voice. Because of the shift in camera perspective from third person to first, our connection to the world of Village is effectively the same as Ethan's. Through his unblinking eyes and those damn hands of his, the ones that seem to endure such unrelenting torture, Johnston tells me that the need to keep Ethan an empty vessel for us to fill with hope, fears, and reactions impacted his approach to writing to an extent. But it always comes back to the idea of giving voice to a person who is massively out of their depth, that all they can do is go along for the ride. This relates to the feeling of not wanting to be there. Like I said, wouldn't you feel that way too? That's a universal feeling I latched onto because we can all sympathise with being forced to do something we'd really rather not, especially when the situation is actively, lethally dangerous. So it's a balancing act between giving Ethan his own personality but also helping the player imagine that it could be them reacting in the same way. So here's what I can say with some degree of certainty. If a 7-foot vampire with exceptional fashion sense and exceptionally bad tasting wine sliced off my hand and my only reaction was only a muted, shit, then I think I'd be doing alright. Then again, whether I'd have the presence of mind to pick up the decapitated limb, hand it to the stump, pour magic water over it, and respond to the miraculous healing with little more than a pithy good remains to be seen. After all, as Ethan learned the hard way in Resident Evil Village, there's only so much punishment one person can take before the crumble. Okay, just a little nod to Josh West before we finish. He's the feature editor of Games Radar Plus, with over 10 years of experience in both online and print journalism, and has written for a number of gaming, entertainment, music and tech publications including 3D Artist, Edge, Games TM, iCreate, Metal Hammer, Play, Retro Gamer and SFX. He also holds a BA honour in journalism and feature writing and has appeared on the BBC and ITV to provide expert comment, written for Scholastic Books, edited a book for Hachette and worked for the assistant producer of the Future Games show. In his spare time, Josh plays the bass guitar and video games. Years ago, he was in movies and TV shows that you've definitely seen, but will never be able to spot him in. Okay, so that's going to conclude today's video, so I hope you enjoyed what you heard. Just to recap, if you have, don't forget to do it says at the bottom of the page. Leave a like, comment, let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Help support the channel. You can follow me on the social media websites listed on the page here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Take care of yourself out there in the world, and bye-bye for now.